What's going on, folks?
How you guys doing? So today I want to talk about something that's probably kind of mundane, but it's important. So in a Harley Davidson, the way these engines are built, there are head studs and there are head nuts, okay? And the head studs on these Milwaukee 8 engines are 7/16 coarse thread studs. They're pretty strong, from the factory. The older twin cam engines had 3/8 studs in them and 3/8 sleeve nuts, which left a little something to be desired there anytime you were building some serious power. They work pretty well up until you start boosting them, but beyond that, not so much. These Milwaukee 8s, they still only use 4 studs and 4 nuts to hold each cylinder head down. So, you're asking a lot of these studs and nuts, but the factory ones are torqued to yield, meaning that basically they stretch every time you torque them together, so you want to replace them every time you pull the heads. If you have to torque them back together, you want to go ahead and replace those. So what I would highly recommend would be S&S makes a nut, and we're talking about just that long sleeve nut, and they're 8640 steel, so they're very strong. They have a 200,000 psi tensile strength, okay, which is extremely strong. Now, they don't stretch when you torque them in. If you stretch one of those, you broke it. So you can reuse those nuts. If you tear the engine down more than once, you can retorque that engine more than once with those nuts. They're less than $200, so they're not terribly expensive. They're inexpensive as a whole. There are other companies out there that make some aftermarket sleeve nuts, which are stronger than factory, but still, I wouldn't say as good a bargain as the S&S ones are. There's a company out there called Diamond, and when you buy the Diamond brand ones, you're buying stainless steel sleeve nuts, which is nice as far as finish goes, but they're 180,000 psi tensile strength, which is a lot. It's still more than the factory sleeve nut, but they're a little more expensive, and when you buy them, you actually buy the washer separate. On S&S and on factory ones, the washer is built on. It's got a flange built onto the sleeve nut. So, if you're building higher power, then you need to make sure you can keep the heads contained down on the engine. As cylinder pressure increases, it increases outward, increases downward towards the piston, and also remember, it's trying to push the head off the engine. So it's much worse about pushing a head gasket out. We use a lot of Cometic head gaskets, which are multi-layer steel, and we use a lot of S&S sleeve nuts, head nuts. The studs themselves, we don't see that many issues in a Milwaukee 8 because they are 7/16. We do have some 300 plus horsepower engines running around out there that are using factory cylinder head studs with S&S sleeve nuts with pretty good success. Can't say I've never seen a head gasket fail, because I have, but it happens very rarely, and that's a very extreme case. So, for most of these engines you guys are building, you're going to be 200 horse and less. So that's, they're more than enough. And, in my opinion, they're a great bargain. And they work very well, and I can't even tell you how many of them we sell in a year. It's a lot. Again, the Diamond ones as well. If you want something that has, it's made out of stainless steel, has a real nice finish. They're strong. They're stronger than the factory ones. Like I said, they are a bit more expensive, but they are very nice, and we have used those in some applications. Any of that is an upgrade over the factory nut. Those factory nuts, I just, if I'm doing a 124, 128, basically any big bore, if the heads are coming off, I'm not going to put stock sleeve nuts back in the engine. I can tell you that I've used stock sleeve nuts a handful of times ever. I very, very rarely ever do. So, sorry, I have to ignore my radar detector today. It seems it wants to be part of the conversation here. But, yeah, anyhow, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of information and, something to think about. When you're building these engines, do not forget those sleeve nuts. You got to remember that is a critical part of keeping these engines together. You got to make sure you're keeping those cylinder heads down, keeping them sealed up. You don't want to use the factory fiber gaskets. And, we'll have another conversation here soon about head gasket thickness. And maybe we'll cover some things like squish and, cylinder head deck height, things like that. So, all right, y'all take care. We'll see you out there.